So if you're reading an introductory textbook on Buddhism, or even really any book on Buddhism, the word preta is often just translated as hungry ghost, and this comes from the Chinese translation for the term. The word preta itself actually just means like departed. So hungry ghosts, these are individuals that occupy one of the negative realms of rebirth. They're typically portrayed as having these really like distended, bloated stomachs and in literature, mouths that are as small as the eye of a needle. But in artwork, it's often like super tiny necks. And this is supposed to show that they are characterized by this like unending like hunger as a result of the stinginess that they've displayed in a prior life. But in the Pali text, as I said, like pretas don't really look like this all the time. So what we find is that, some of these pretas are nothing more than just somebody's dead relative, who you're supposed to give offerings to in order to help them in the next life. Sometimes they are suffering, but then sometimes they look like deities, and to
Hmm.
the point that the texts are actually like interchanging different names for like deities with the pretas. And once we get these what I call semi-divine pretas, then we get into, pretas with like sex lives who are enjoying like everything that you would expect out of heaven. Sometimes they have a twist, sometimes they're just chilling in heaven. So yeah, I compared all these different collections of stories about pretas that were composed at different times, and I also pay attention to the difference between like the commentarial layer and then the original verse layer, in order to think about some of the historical progression and to think carefully about commentators as people who are actually framing these stories for us. So part one of the book really lingers in these different historical layers to think about the intentionality of portrayals of pretas.